So, as I said before, yesterday I think, what we have here in this room is a very special group of people who are focused on a mission and all seeing a vision of a better future for everyone in our community. So I want you to think about how your service to this organization has benefited you personally, starting from your first hike, when you were pulled out of a dark place and introduced to a community of people who understood and accept you, to the friends that kept you going after that hike, to all of the people you met there who maintained a friendship with you, who maintained a friendship with each other, and built their own support network, to the jobs and the responsibilities that you have accepted as a leader in the organization. I would imagine that most of you have been challenged both mentally and emotionally by your role as a leader in this organization. I got my eyes on Nate. Where is he? He bounced. Oh, is he there? Oh, damn, that would have been really funny. I was about to man, that guy's stressed out. You have been forced to plan in great detail to manage relationships between people who couldn't play nice. You've had to swallow your pride on more than one occasion. You've had to fire volunteers. Man, does that suck. For both of you. Transferred. Very nice. That's actually part of the compassion and sensitivity thing we're going to get to later. You've had to drastically lower your expectations of people just to maintain good mental health. You've had to second guess yourself and constantly rework your communication to get people to do what you need them to do. Because sometimes the words that you're saying aren't working. And it makes you wonder, what the fuck am I doing wrong that my words are not achieving the intended result? You've had to coach, lead, teach, motivate, and inspire a group of people to first work for free, and second, to convince a large group of intoxicated and mostly male veterans to follow a code of conduct at our events. You were challenged, you accepted, and you're still here, working your ass off to bring veterans together, to improve the culture of the veteran community, and give more people reasons to live, because that means fewer reasons to die. That makes each one of you an extraordinary person, and I hope that you can share the lessons that you have brought here with your communities. The lessons that have brought you here with your communities, to include the lessons of hard work, perseverance in the face of pain and adversity, discipline, focus, planning, organization, and all of the things that have made you successful and able to be here today. Please accept that those are the traits that are needed to live the life that you want to live. There's no magic to happiness and success. It is hard, smart, focused, disciplined, and consistent work. And I fear that the message is being lost in a community that is constantly offered handouts and constantly asking for handouts. Anything that doesn't teach or reinforce the value of work ethic, I believe, is dangerous to the mindset of our community. And you all have the ability to reinforce these positive things because you've experienced them. You would think that we all learn this shit in the military, but for those that did 3 or 4 years and didn't get past E3, a lot of them, or maybe that's you.
All right.
Okay. Not saying it's a bad thing, but you might not have been challenged as much as, the platoon sergeant. Right? So aside from the work ethic that has brought you success, you've all experienced the reintegration to civilian life, or what I like to call the rewiring process. And that process is so important to mental health. Every one of us had our minds rewired by the military because we were taught to have bearing, to suppress feelings, to keep our fucking mouths shut, because we didn't matter, and our feelings definitely didn't matter, because we are no longer an individual. That's the military indoctrination. And that's necessary to defend a nation, but it is not good for leading a healthy human fucking life. And I think that when you look at all of the hugs and the tears and the laughter and the I love yous that are shared amongst the men and women at our events of every age, branch, and MOS, I think we can all agree that we have rewired our brains to some degree. We have all undone some of the wiring that the military did to us, and we've all improved our own mental health through a more positive mindset, and that must be shared with your communities. I think that's the key to improving the veteran community, to improving mental health. Just the basics of how we respect people. From the people who aren't fit, who don't look pretty, who don't fit the military poster mold, who aren't the smartest, who aren't very cool, funny, or outgoing, and to women especially, which, by the way, I have to give a very special shout out to the women who are here, who are leading hikes that are 90% men, coming from a military experience full of 90% men who generally treated you like shit. I would not recommend my daughter join the Marines. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. It's a shitty place to be a woman in the Marine Corps. I can't speak for the rest of the military, but I can't imagine it's that much better, okay? So despite all that, you're here leading groups of intoxicated men, and that is absolutely incredible. And I want all of us dudes in the room to acknowledge that. That's a very, very special thing. That's how I know you guys are crazy. So the basics of how we respect people and treat people will guide our mental health. So I believe it to be a hard fact that a more kind, compassionate, loving, and sensitive mindset will lead to better mental health. That's what we have here in this room. And better mental health leads to what? Less suicide. Yeah. That's... So if I were to be really succinct about what we're doing here, we're doing all this fucking work, these events all over the country, managing ridiculous events, all just to get people to be nicer to each other. When you really boil it down and you look at the culture that exists within this room, that's really what we've done. We've just all accepted that if we can all just treat each other really nice, all of a sudden everybody's smiling more and everybody's laughing more, and then you can say darker jokes and get away with it. And everyone in this room has better mental health. You would think that there was so much more to it, but it's really not. And that's what I want to end on. That just the way that we treat each other is the key to mental health. And you can all take this experience back to your groups, right? So the hike leader builds a team around him or her, and then each one of those little teams, you should be doing powwows and kind of trying to recreate the great experiences here, recreate that with your little group in your city, and then what is experienced there will be a microcosm of what could be experienced on the hike. And then what is experienced on one individual hike could potentially be a microcosm of what could happen at hikes all over the country. And if that keeps spreading, that's changing culture. And that's what we're doing. And all of you are the ones empowering cultural change for the better. So thank all of you. You guys are proof that if you can have a vision of anything, even if the vision is just a successful hike, you visualize what you want the hike to look like, how you want people to treat each other. Back in the day, we used to have big groups of drunk assholes at hikes who would get shit canned and they just treat everyone around them like shit. They drop their trash on the ground. They had no respect for anyone else. And that was because we hadn't clearly defined our culture. And I haven't seen it yet this year. Yeah. Last hike season, thank you. I didn't see that. That's a testament to you all changing culture. That's powerful shit. And that's gonna continue. Because all the guys who wanna show up, you're mentioning the guys who wanna show up and just get fucking crazy and fucked up and fuck everyone, they're either going to they're either going to show up and assimilate, or they're going to stop showing up. And if they stop showing up, is that a huge loss for everyone here? No, it's not. And a couple years will go by and they'll get lonely and they'll get beaten down by civilian life, and then they'll come back to one of the hikes, a nicer person. And you'll be like, yeah, come on in. Let's do it. Wow, that's so funny. You used to be such an asshole. You're kind of nice now. And that's how we know what we're doing is working. So thank all of you. You're very special people. And I love each and every one of you. And every hike that I go to, I always say is the greatest weekend of my life. And I always make a new best friend at every one of the hikes. And every time I come to these, it's probably as good as I feel all year. So thanks for making me feel good. This is my therapy. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, bud.
That's where you give a standing ovation. Stand up.
No.
Let's go.
You should applaud each other.
I fucking mean it. Stand up.
No, you don't need to stand. Just give each other a hug. Hey, you know you can go to church? What do you say?
Hugs.
Yeah.
Give hugs. Greet the neighbor next to you.
Yeah. How you doing?
Greet the neighbor next to you. Oh.
There it is. All right, so is party time? Bonfire?